good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Hello, 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 hello to everybody who's tuning in to us today. And I'd like to just welcome you to today's Unleashing the Power of Women's Voices, which is brought to you by Thrive Media. So, my name is 𝐷𝐨𝐬, and I am an emotional resilience coach, a trauma practitioner, a 9D breathwork facilitator, and a speaker. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be one of the speakers at the Women's Thrive Summit in March 2024, and also to be your host for today's show, alongside the incredible Maria Ferguson. So, whilst we're all gathering here today, we're actually missing somebody, aren't we? And that's the presence of Raimonda Chan, the visionary founder of Women Thrive Media. Raimonda is currently leading a transformative business and wellness retreat in Valencia in Spain. That has been created by Raimonda and her amazing support team. The retreat is where women are just coming together and they're connecting whilst learning, growing, relaxing, manifesting, and showing up as the true leaders that they are. And it's the first of many in-person events that Raimonda has got planned. The women on that retreat are also sharing their personal stories on stage as part of the Thrive Talk series. They are going to be showcasing the immense power of women coming together to learn, to grow, and to manifest their true leadership potential. Since the first Women Thrive event in London 2017, these gatherings have become a beacon for women's empowerment, attracting a global audience of over 600,000 people. These events celebrate every woman's voice, offering a platform for sharing, for learning, and for growing. And there have been countless amazing speakers who've walked through the doors at the Women's Thrive Summit. Every year, they receive thousands of speaker applications, and it's clear why. There are so many women around the world with powerful, beautiful stories that can inspire and impact somebody else's life. And this year, out of those thousands of applications, 54 amazing speakers are going to take to the stage at the annual Women Thrive Summit in March 2024. That's going to be focusing on women's empowerment, supporting female entrepreneurs, business owners, and those also interested in personal development. We have got speakers from all around the world discussing a myriad of topics crucial for women to grow their businesses and to evolve personally. So, as you're joining us live this morning, or if you're watching this on replay, please, please, please engage with us in the chat. Go in there, introduce yourself, let us know where you're joining from, let us know what you're excited about today. So this morning, we have got 6 amazing speakers lined up for you. And this evening, there's another event with 12 more incredible voices. So please just feel free to sign up again tonight and connect with more inspiring individuals from around the globe. In fact, this event takes place every month, and you're invited to attend all of the events. So prepare to be inspired by an exceptional lineup of trailblazing women who've made significant contributions in their respective fields, from renowned entrepreneurs and industry leaders to first-time speakers, activists, and other women in business. Each speaker will share their unique journey, insights, and wisdom, leaving you motivated and ready to take action. The women sharing their stories today are going to talk about their business ventures, personal journeys, and how they overcame their challenges and achieved their goals. So your support for them would be really appreciated. Let them know in the chat. Let them know what you're excited about. Let them know that you're here to support them today. So as we gather here today, I want to share a bit about my journey and why events like this are so close to my heart. Until March this year, I had never spoken on a stage. From a young age, I faced mockery and bullying from people about what I said, which resulted in me having a massive fear of public speaking. And there was a really defining moment for me when I was 21, and I applied for a job to become a holiday rep, and I was invited to London for an interview. I was so excited, and I was scared as well because I'd never even been out of my hometown. So off I went on an 8-hour bus trip that cost me £8 to get there. But during the interview, I was asked to prepare and present a pitch to sell an exotic day trip to holidaymakers. And it really scared me as I had never even been anywhere exotic. But when my turn came, I walked through the door expecting just a typical interview, but I actually found myself on a stage in front of about 100 people. I completely froze. I started to read from my notes until those words started moving around the paper, and I just couldn't read a single word. And the laughter from the audience was the last thing that I heard before I ran off stage and left the building crying all the way home on the bus. Now, that experience was one of the worst of my life. It had a massive impact on me, especially through my career in the police force. See, I avoided interviews, promotions, or any form of public speaking, really. However, I realised that this fear was just holding me back in business and in life. It was preventing me from helping other people, especially those dealing with trauma or significant life challenges. It was silencing my message, my purpose, and my passion. So this year, I promised myself that no matter how uncomfortable it became, I was going to push myself out my comfort zone. I was going to change my beliefs about public speaking, and I was going to overcome my fear once and for all. So today, as I stand before you, not just as a co-host, but as somebody who's walked the path of overcoming deep-seated fears, I'm a testament to the transformative power of facing and embracing our true selves. And Women Thrive Media have been instrumental in this journey of mine. Being part of a community that uplifts me and supports women has given me the strength to share my personal story and learn from the powerful narratives of other women. Every speaker, every story at this summit represents a step forward in overcoming my fear and growing as a person and as a professional. So let's dive into this day of empowerment, of growth, of inspiration. Together, we will continue to break barriers, to overcome fears, and to truly unleash the incredible power of women's voices. So thank you for being part of this journey with us today. Please help me make this a memorable one. Now, I have got an amazing woman with me today who is also co-hosting this event. She is also one of the women at the Thrive Summit one of the Thrive Summit speakers in March 2024. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to the amazing, the incredible, the beautiful Maria Ferguson. Hey, Maria. Hey, Maria.
Hello,
Hey.
hello, beautiful Kay. Oh, what a stunning introduction, and just really honoring you for capturing the essence of this beautiful Thrive Summit that we're both a part of, and the amazing women that are also part of this epic event. And I'm so excited to be co-hosting this with you. And for those that don't know me, my name is Marie Ferguson, and I am a feminine embodiment coach, a youth empowerment mentor, an advanced breathwork facilitator. I also became an international author this year as well, as part of a series of mum stories and co-collaboration. So that was pretty exciting too. And I also have a master's in education specializing in the arts. So it's very exciting to be sharing my experiences and wisdoms and takeaways with the amazing women in this space that are a part of the summit, either as speakers and also as audience members coming in to connect and grow and empower. So I am so thrilled to be co-hosting with you, Kay, and I really resonated with your story. And what I was thinking about as you were sharing that moment was like, I know what it's like to have those moments of fear come up. And I too was the shy girl. I was the little girl that in the classroom, in primary school and high school, that was really quiet. And I did all the things that other people said that I should do. And the only way that I felt like in my power was when I was dancing and on the stage expressing myself. So that was my inner spark that allowed me to take risks and feel the fear and keep growing. And this is another beautiful platform where women are doing that same thing, where we are stepping outside our comfort zones and we're taking that risk and leaning into the fear and doing it anyway. And that's the whole beauty about the unleashing the power of our voices and our expression. And I really love the values that this beautiful summit holds and what Raimonda and her team have created for women like us to step into our power. And it's beautiful that we get to co-host together and step into our power and experience. So thank you to all the beautiful listeners that are joining us. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first beautiful guest, who I know is ready and waiting to go. And we have the beautiful Pauline, who's going to be jumping on shortly and sharing her mission. And Pauline's mission is to eradicate the financial statistics of women so we can live the life we are destined for. She is the founder of Femvesta Global, a community built on supporting women to be financially fabulous. She walked away from her corporate life after 25 years in 2021 to focus on being a difference maker. I love that. Pauline is a senior leader for the Tony Robbins community and Amazon #1 best-selling international author. Without any further ado, let's welcome beautiful Pauline.
Thanks, Marie. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, you're so welcome. The floor is yours. So excited to listen into you.
Thank you. One thing I'm going to ask everyone in this room and who's listening online is, when you hear the phrase money, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel full of angst, frustration, regret, tearful? Or does it make you feel full of joy, passion, excitement to do whatever you want to do? Or do you actually have no views on money whatsoever? It's just an energy exchange. You have something that someone wants and vice versa. We all have stories around money. And for some of us, it's a source of peace. And for others, it's a source of anxiety. Now, for me personally, it comes from a source of anxiety in my early days. I grew up in a household where we never spoke about money. And therefore, when I got myself into a lot of debt, 10 credit cards worth of debt, £86,000 worth of debt, it was a struggle because I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to start. And I was in the darkest place. Back then, in the mid-2000s, I was diagnosed with PTSD. I served in Iraq in 2002, 2003 in the British Navy. And the person I left to go to Iraq was not the person who returned from Iraq. So for me, the only way to feel great about myself was to put money on my credit cards. Tap, dopamine hit, feel amazing. Tap, dopamine hit, feel amazing. I'd buy myself clothes, shoes, handbags, things that made me feel good on the outside. But inside, I was in a world of pain. The constant knocks on the door, looking for me so I can pay my debts. The phone ringing. Back then, we didn't have mobile phones like we do today where we could scroll and look at caller ID. I didn't have those. So I answered the phone because I didn't know who was at the other end. The landlines. For those that are showing us our age, the landline. So we didn't know who was at the end. So every time I picked up the phone, I didn't know what to expect. And there was a lot of harassment in the early days around me paying off the debt. So I want to challenge you. When you think about money, what is it that you feel when it comes to money? I want you to write down, money is, and fill in the blank. Because those stories that we tell ourselves are just old stories. And the beautiful thing is we get to create new stories. We get to unleash ourselves, as Kay and Marie mentioned earlier. We get to choose because we all have a choice. We can choose to do nothing and bury our head in the sand, or we can choose to do something about it. And my story is being from the warrior to the warrior, from the victim to the victor. I wasn't going to let me pushing my button on the computer, filing for bankruptcy, that black mark against my name, to allow me to be the woman, because I didn't want the shame and the guilt. I chose to do something about it. And if you watch The Matrix, it's take the red pill or the blue pill. And we all have a choice in life. Sometimes those choices are taken away from us, but then it's around what we do about it that makes us the woman that we are today. The woman we have the power with our voice to make the change. This is why I left my corporate life behind after 25 years, because every woman has the opportunity to do something different. And I'm no different. I didn't let that dictate my future. That black mark I didn't want against my name. So I made a different decision. I made a decision that I'm going to be something different. I'm going to make the decision I'm going to take my head out of the sand and take control of my finances. Because unfortunately, ladies, too many of us have our head in the sand. And I was one of those people for such a long time. I just kept putting money on the credit card, feeling great about myself, knowing that this was the bank's money. There's a credit card, interest. I can pay off a little bit and often, and I got myself into a world of pain. But I didn't want that to control me. I didn't want that to allow that to be my fate for my future, which is why I stand on stages around the world, just why I'm speaking here today, because I want each and every single one of you to live this beautiful life. Most of us ladies, we're not thinking about our finances. Most of us are thinking about our children, spouses, careers and businesses, maybe aging parents. Money becomes way down the pecking order for a lot of us. And we haven't taken control of it, which is the sad part today. It's that women are actually the fastest growing category of homelessness in the Western world. If you look at the statistics, ladies, we are not where we need to be. COVID has set us back. Gender parity has set us back. Not having the same opportunities to raise our hand to take those promotions, taking our hand up and actually saying, yes, this is what I want. We need to do more of this, ladies. We need to put our hand up more and say, this is what I want. I'm asking for it because I deserve it. And you deserve it. Each and every single one of you listening deserves it, because we deserve to build this beautiful life that we get to create. But most of us don't know what we want. So I want to challenge you to think about, what is it that you want from your life? What is it you want? And then put a plan in place to go and get it. Most of us are focusing on what we don't want, not on what we do want. And part of a lot of what I talk about is actually free. It doesn't cost any money. We get to wake up every single day, air in my lungs, my feet touch the floor. I have my mind. Today's a beautiful day. That doesn't cost me any money. None at all. When I speak to the women in my community about money and all the things that they want in their life, they want their children to be happy. They want to spend time with loved ones, make connections. All the time, that doesn't require money. So I want you to think about what money makes you feel and how to live the life that you want to create. What is it you want? So I want you to really think about that in more detail. And I'll be talking more in the Thrive Summit next year around this in more detail, around sharing of my own story and how it changed my life. Like I said, I took the red pill or the blue pill. We all have a choice. I didn't want my choices to dictate the way that I felt about things, which is why I chose a different path. I wrote the book of Restory. It became an Amazon International #1 bestseller because I wanted other women to have hope out there that they feel like they can't do certain things. I'm no different. We all have a choice to do something different. And I want you to have the same choices. The reality is, ladies, that we're living on average 6 years longer than men. The reality is today we're at a 48% divorce rate. And no one is coming to look after us. Some of us believe our children may look after us in the future. And I want you to challenge the thinking on that around, are you thinking with your heart or your head? Because not every child is going to look after their parents. We may have good intentions. And certainly in the Western world, we're going to be in the old people's home. In Asian culture, where I live today, I live here in Singapore, it's a very different environment. We all get to live in a generational ancestry home with our grandparents, grandchildren, parents. It's a very different community. But I want you to think about, what is it that you want from your life? Most of us aren't thinking that way. No one's coming to save us, ladies. The government's not going to come and save us. Look how much money they're squandering today. Let's be honest. Look how much money they've been squandering today. There's a good chance that we may not be in a relationship. Therefore, we may not have someone to provide for us. We have to look after ourselves, ladies, and it starts with you. It starts with us. I want you to point yourself and say, you have control. You have control to be the difference. Ladies, we're not where we need to be. Look at the statistics. If this is not a wake-up call, then please take this as an opportunity to start today. So what is it you want? And what's your excuse? What's holding you back? Because a lot of us have this little voice that tells us we're not good enough, that we can't do certain things. That little voice, I've named her. She's called Nancy. So I want you to also think about the little voice. I named her for a reason. She escapes the prison of my mind. She's always there when I least expect her. When she says that I'm not good enough and I'm not educated in certain things, or I feel a certain way, or look a certain way, puts me down. The imposter syndrome, that little voice that gets louder and louder when you don't want it to be. You have to control that. You have to control what's in here. And ladies, I want one thing to share with you. When it comes to our finances, statistically, we're actually better than men. Because we do research, we take time, we actually think about what we're investing in. Most men, they'll listen to their top tip from their broke mate down the pub and they'll buy on that basis. Women think differently, which is why we're such successful investors. But we all have a financial superpower. Many of us haven't turned it on yet. And that's okay. We all have it inside us. We all have the courage, we all have the confidence to learn about money and investing. But most of us aren't educated in this area because we're not taught in schools. We don't know where to go. We don't know who to trust. Even in my own journey, I trusted a financial advisor. When I got out of my debt, I didn't know what else to do with my money, so I gave it to someone. He was a licensed financial advisor. It didn't work out. And the finance industry keeps us in the dark for a lot of reasons. If we knew what we knew and we were educated in this area, believe me, the finance industry would look very different today because we are educated. We'd understand what fees really mean to our accounts. I call it the cancer of the finance world. We actually don't know what we're paying for our future. No one sits there at the end and says, hey, congratulations, this is how much money you would have had if you didn't use me instead. No one does that. You just take verbatim that that's what you're given, and then I've got to do something with that for the rest of my life. If we're living till 95, and many of us are talking about retirement, potentially you want to retire at 65. You need that money to last 30 years. Many of us don't have that money to last 30 days. 30 years. So what are you going to do, ladies? It starts today. It starts with you. So please take the time to understand where you're at with your money. Take the time to go through what's going in your account every month and what's going out. And I'll give you one hot tip. that one hot tip is in your bank account where most people put their savings. I want you to look at the interest rate that you're being charged by your bank. How much interest are you getting? Because in a standard bank account, you're looking at 0.5% if you're lucky. What does that really mean? 144 years to double your money. That's right, 144 years. However, if I was to move those savings, put it in a high interest account that I can access at any time, most parts of the world we're getting about between 3 and 5% now for those interest rates. Realistically, that's a 20-year to double my money. 20 years, not 144 years. 20 years. I'm likely to be around in 20 years. I'm going to see that money. And this is why, ladies, this is why many of us are retiring with no money, because we leave money in the bank. We don't know what else to do with it. And therefore, this is what happens. We've let it sit there earning little interest. And this is where men are more successful in this area because they're doing something with the money. If we're not investing it, we're not making money while we sleep. I want you to make money while you sleep. I want you to trade your time for money, because most of us have to, in exchange, we have to work every day. We have to work in our businesses. We have to work in our corporate lives. And in exchange, we get paid through our businesses or through our careers. So I want you to think about something so simple as what's coming in my account every month, what's going out my account, and realistically, what can I put away to spend for tomorrow? Now, I hate the word budgets. For me, budgets are like diets. They're restrictive. I don't like that word. I want you to call it a spending plan. Doesn't sound like much, but psychology-wise, the little voice thinks very different in this area. So I want you to think of the word spending plan. Sounds a bit more exciting now, doesn't it? So I want you to think about your own spending plan around what's going in and what's going out every month. And I want you to think about what's the sorts of things that you want to do with your money. Most of us want to make money while we sleep, but what do we invest in? And there's lots of things to invest in, but are we investing in the right things? Do we actually know what we're investing in? And I say, if you don't understand what you're investing in, don't go for it, because that little voice will always challenge you. And this is where most people stay poor in the finance industry. It's because they put their money into investing accounts. They don't have an emergency savings. They put all their money into being buying property, or they put it into the stock market, and they make a very different decision because that little voice gets louder because they don't know what they're doing. It's all about education. It's all about where do I go? Where do I look? And I appreciate most of us and women are very busy. Like I said before, the pecking order of things around money, it's way down the list for many of us. We need to bring it to the top. And most of the time we only bring it to the top when something happens. Something's happened in our careers. Something's happened in our businesses. Something's happened in our relationships. And suddenly now we start thinking about money. I want you to have the life jacket. The life jacket. The life jacket is allowing you, no matter what happens, you have an emergency fund. That savings account I just mentioned that you can access at any point in time, that's the life jacket. That's what's going to help you sleep at night. Because we make very different decisions if we don't have the life jacket, we put everything into property or investing. So think about the life jacket for you. Do you have one? Because I want every woman to have a life jacket. Just like I want every woman to live the life that she was destined to have. So I want you to think about what it is for you. Let's take a deep breath in. There's a lot of information I've packed in today's session. And I really want to think about for you, where to from here?
Pauline! Oh, Pauline, your message is so clear. You are an absolute powerhouse. You know, it's such an important topic that you're here to talk about and to spread those messages to people about how important it is to face our finances. You know, and I personally know how important that is, because I found myself in a position where I never spoke about finances. And then I was in a position where everything came crashing down for me. And I was financially bankrupt at one point. So I understand the struggles behind that. So I absolutely love what you're talking about. And when you said there about having a spending plan, isn't it amazing how when you change the narrative and change the wording to spending plan, it sounds so much better, doesn't it?
Exactly, Kay. It does. You know, budgets, everyone goes, oh, budgets. You can, when I talk to my clients and they just see the word budget in my community, people just roll their eyes straight away. It's like, then I'm like, oh, spending plan. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm going to think about that a bit differently now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you spoke there about having a life jacket as well, because quite rightly, we have, you know, this plan in place for our finances, but when it comes to a point in our life where we might need that life jacket, most of us don't actually have that in place, do we? And there seems to be a bit of a theme coming up where, again, we were talking before about fears, and a lot of what you're saying there to me would appear that people are not talking about the finances and not facing the finances because they have a fear. Is that what you find?
Yeah. The sad part is it's 2023 and money is still very taboo in every part of the world. I've lived and worked in 10 countries, and it doesn't matter the culture. It's the same narrative that's being pushed by society. How often do we sit in our corporate jobs, for example, and talk about, hey, how much money did you get as a pay rise? We have to sign non-disclosure agreements, so we don't talk about bonuses or anything that we have. And even when we speak about our businesses, everything's focused on revenue. Revenue is the money coming in. It's not the profit you're taking home every day. So there's this view around, you know, where are we at with our money? Even in our households, you know, how often do we speak with our spouses? How often do we have conversations with our children around money? You know, I spoke in another community quite recently, and I said, the reality is that I have financial date nights with my spouse every 90 days. So I sit down, we talk about goals, because the number one reason for divorce, I gave you a statistic, it's 48%, is that most of us, it's put it down to money. Outside of infidelity, the number one reason for divorce is around our finances. So let's talk about it so it doesn't get to that point. Let's have those open conversations. And I always talk about having, as women, having access to our own money, having a bank account in our own name, because so many women today are coming from the background of potentially domestic violence, of which economic abuse is part of that. And therefore they stay in relationships because they don't have an alternative means and way out.
Wow, such powerful insights there. And what you were saying as well, Kay, about these fear pieces are so important to address. So I really enjoyed listening to you, Pauline. And I suppose these conversations, I love that idea of having a financial date night. And I know when we were speaking last time, I mentioned that to my husband the other day, because I always put the finances on him. Like, I was the one that was bringing in the money and, you know, working hard and, you know, doing all the things. And he was the one that paid the bills and did all that, until we sat down and looked at, like, had a real hard look at where was the money, you know, bleeding, you know, where was it, you know, going to this thing here and that thing there, and did we actually need that subscription here, and did you actually remember this? And it was a real hard conversation to have, not just once but several times. So what advice would you give, I suppose, in framing a healthy invitation to have these conversations with your partner? What's some of your key points to help people have these conversations?
It's all starts with communication. You know, communication is key to any relationship, along with trust and honesty. And it's around then whether we're living with someone, whether we're married to someone, whether we're about to get into a relationship with someone. It's about having those conversations to start with, to say, hey, where are you with your are you bringing debt into the relationship? Do you already have a lot of debt that I'm not aware of? Because then it becomes becomes something that, are we being open and transparent, and therefore is our partner trusting us, or are we hiding something? And I believe if you talk about something and share something, things become so much easier. Now, also what we find is around behind the scenes is, how do I approach this when I've got quite a controlling husband or quite a controlling spouse? So what we did was, during COVID, we actually created a 65-page editable ebook. And what that allows you to do then is go, right, well, let's talk about, if something happened to me, then where would I go for all the accounts? Who's our accountant? Do we have one? Do we have a solicitor? Do I have a will? Do I have all these things? And then I asked women to fill in that first for them and then hand it to their spouse and say, look, I filled in my part, but now I've got this gap and I'm not sure where things are at. So we created a document for need through COVID, because a lot of people were like, I'm not prepared for this. And therefore we call it the household blanket. And therefore on that basis, then women could start having those conversations to then go, well, what do we actually own? Because some women have no idea. I have clients who doesn't even know how much their spouse earns. They don't have that level of conversation. And, you know, how do you break those barriers around having that conversation with your spouse when, you know, he doesn't talk about his earnings, doesn't know if he's got, you know, do you have investments? Are you secure in your relationship? And I've been in the expatriate community for a while. I'm also ex-military, and I see a lot of women who follow their husbands around the world, give up their careers, and then suddenly they're in a situation now where they're like exposed in a way, because it's like, well, it's all his money. And I have to remind our community, it's our money. It's not his money. Yes, physically it may be going into his bank account. He's going to work every day. But if you sat down and worked out how much money it would cost him to go out and get childcare and a chef and all the things that women do to support a household, and put a dollar figure against that or a pound figure against that, that's an eye-opener for a lot of couples. And we actually put that on our website. We actually turned around and said, this is how much it's actually going to cost you as a woman who's a stay-at-home mum. This is how much money you actually contribute to the household. Because there's this shift of narrative, and especially as women, if some of us have given and walked away from our careers to have children. And if you look at the stats today also, many women have set up businesses because they weren't supported in their corporate world. So in the last 2 years, there are more female businesses than ever before. And that's purely in the fact that we didn't want to go back to our corporate world. We weren't supporting our companies, trying to manage everything during COVID, working from home, managing children, you know, everything that goes with that. A lot of women took a back seat and said, no, we're going to actually set up a business because I need the flexibility, I need the time, I also need to focus on my children. So I hope that gives there's some little insights around some things we could do, but it all starts with communication. And if not, obviously, that's a great way to segue into financial date nights. Hey, babe, let's talk about it. I appreciate it's a passion killer. I say to everyone, it's not a sexy time date night. It's a passion killer. So let's not have, but it's important, because hopefully then it will lead to the passion later on down the track, because it's all married or we're still with our spouses, because we're not arguing about money.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. It's like putting in the hard work now, but the communication is the key. And I know even with my husband, when we started talking more about it, it took the ease off him, and then it opened my eyes a little bit more about the spending. So it was beautiful for us to now start coming together and working as a team in that cohesiveness in our relationship, which is up-leveled, which is beautiful. So thank you so much. I want a copy of that ebook.
Pauline, where can people find your ebook? Where can people find that?
So it's actually available to purchase on our website directly. So you can go into our website directly, and there's a header actually talks about merchandise and books. So there's actually an ebook there that you can purchase. It's $14.95 Sing dollars. It's not expensive, and it's editable, so you can keep going back as many times as you want and adjusting it, which is why we created it that way. There's 65 pages, so there's a lot of information in there. But it's not even just for your spouse. It's also if you're not married. Even if you have, if you have children or something happens to you, who's then going to be aware of what your legacy is? So it's not just necessarily for your spouse. It's around whoever's, there to support after something happens to you. It's for those people as well who've got something, can just go, right, I've got one document in my hand that has everything in it that I need. And then I can spend that time grieving around the situation, because most of us aren't grieving in the situation. Most of us going, I've got to sort this out. I've got the bank chasing me. I've got, mobile phone companies chasing me. I've got all these things I need to do, and it all focuses around money and accounts. Let's take that pressure away and then go, right, let's then also use that as a tool to have those conversations up front. And I appreciate it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to talk about, these sorts of things, but just think, the beautiful life that you can leave as a legacy, and the beautiful life that you can leave for someone else, to allow them to go, right, it's amazing what comes out the woodwork that I find. And I created it because my mum was in a situation where my dad was in hospital. My dad was in hospital because he had a brain bleed. And my mum was like, and I said to mum, like, what's dad have? And she's like, I've got no idea. Because like to your point, Marie, my spouse does it all. And you're not alone. 56% of couples is the statistic that, I let my spouse manage it all. And if something happens, then, where is the accounts? All we're doing is leaving it to organizations because we don't know what exists. that's money that we're leaving on the table for yourself and your children in the future, because we're not having those conversations because we find it difficult. Let's not make it taboo, and let's make those conversations easier. And the more we talk about it, the more it's not going to be taboo going forwards. That's my mission. This is why I want to eradicate the financial statistics of women, because there's lots of money going to companies because we're not having those conversations.
Thank you so much, Pauline. You honestly, your mission, your passion is very, very clear. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all of that with us. And that's a lot of pages in your ebook, so a lot of date nights.
Exactly. It's a lot of date nights, but they're fun. So I say every 90 days, Rome wasn't built in a day. It doesn't always have to be done in, a very short space of time. Allow it just to go through the process and don't rush it. We can't go from 0 to 100. Rome wasn't built in a day. Just take the time and enjoy the process.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Pauline. Thank you. And if Pauline's story resonates with you, if you are somebody, who heard a message in that talk by Pauline, please, please, please follow her on social media, stalk her, find out where she's at, and go and connect with her. So thank you so much for that, Pauline. Now I believe that we've got our next speaker who's waiting in the green room. And this lady is another incredible lady. And I would love to bring Lauren Penny to the stage. And Lauren is a monetization event expert and founder of Branched Out. So Lauren works with women coaches and service providers earning multiple 6 to 7 figures with a reputable sales strategy using in-person events and multiple revenue streams. So Lauren, welcome to the stage.
Hello, Kay and Maria. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is absolutely my honour, and to everyone that's listening here live and watching the replay, I hope you're going to have a phenomenal time here with Women Thrive as you're working through all of the speakers.
Hello.
Now. Hello. This
Masha.
is my daughter. Okay, darling.
Masha.
Now, that's part of my talk, actually. Please go see Daddy. Marty, can you please come and see Ava?
Masha,
Ava, please go
Masha,
see Daddy. So as my talk my talk is actually around having the courage and the action. Ava. Okay, please go see Daddy. Please go see Ava.
Masha.
Okay, so Ava, please go see Daddy. So what I'm here to talk about today is the courage and action to live your truth and to also design your lifestyle so that you can be working at home with your children. And I have the pleasure of being able to be at home with my children before school so that I can have those early childhood years, as well as the luxury of having a newborn baby who is only 15 weeks old. So I'm here to talk about today courage and action, because I believe that as women, we can really step into the courage and action to design the lifestyle that you desire. Now, I've made a very conscious choice to build a business and have a family. And so, yes, that means that when I'm live in speaking with all of you here today, which I'm so honoured to do, my 5-year-old decides to come onto the microphone. Hey, this is life. This is human. This is being part of who we are. So I wanted to share with you, and it's a story that I often come back to, and it's to look at the courage and the actions by those that have been before us. And now I'm talking to Michael Jordan, for example. Now, who here knows Michael Jordan? Put your hand up, nod your head. I'm very confident that many of you that are here today and listening on the replay know who Michael Jordan is. Now, for some, though, what you may not know is that in high school, he was cut from the high school varsity team. He didn't make the first team. Now, what that meant was that he had to really dig deep. He had to look at what he wanted to create in his life. He was only a junior. He's in high school. How can he now make that team? So every day on repeat, he kept practicing and honing in on his skills. And so through that, of course, the following year when he went into the high school varsity team, he made the cut. And in his first game, he scored 35 points. So it's simply outstanding. It comes back to a conversation I had with my father-in-law just the other week. And he's a leading baseball coach, and he's been coaching athletes here in Australia and also in America. And I was surprised to hear that in baseball, the world's best, the Hall of Fame means that the baseman, the base person, has hit 3 out of 10 shots. So come back to thinking about all of the actions that you do in your business, in your life, in your personal life. Do you always hit the mark? Because let's have a look at those at the baseball. It meant that the average to be in the Hall of Fame, let's hear that. 3 out of 10 hits is when they connect with the ball. And now it comes to my story. Now in 2015, I was leading my business and I was really encouraged to do so. And then I found myself sitting on the couch with literally tears flooding down my face. It was the most distraught time that I have ever been. And I was sitting on the couch and my partner was consoling me. It's because my client didn't pay their invoices for over 6 months. And what I'd done was I continued to work for this client. I didn't value myself. But what it meant that in 6 months after that conclusion, I was sitting on the couch in tears because the bank was literally knocking at my door. And following Pauline's talk today around establishing your financial stability, I had taken the action and brought property investments. But it meant that an unforeseen situation then arose and I couldn't now pay those mortgage repayments, even though the houses were rented and I was then topping it up. But I came to a point financially that I was bone dry. I then looked at my shares and at that point in time, they were the lowest that they've ever been. So I couldn't then sell some shares and then pay for this other pot. So just by moving those investments, like Pauline is educating us to do so. But at that point in time, because of the business and I was bankrolling myself, I'd even brought on an employee, I was literally now in the red. And so all of those thoughts started going in my mind. I'm not good enough. I can't run a business. Who am I to think that I can run a business? Let's just go get a job and I can just pay for those investments and I can continue to do the financial stability moving forward, but it's not through a business vehicle. And then at that time, we spoke to a mentor that evening. My partner rang him to say, please help Lauren at this point in time because she is crumbling. I was spiraling down. And he said the following day, Lauren, go have a break. When was the last time that you've taken a break? And I was like, break? What does that mean? So the next day I walked outside, took my shoes off. I walked through the grass and I felt the earth. I felt the grass on my feet, through my toes. I felt the air wisping across through my face. I looked up at the sky and I watched those clouds pass me by. And I just take a moment and I breathed and I then just really took stock. And in that moment, I then decided that I wasn't going to take a job, that I was going to work my way out of this, that I was going to ask for help, ask for those that love and know you and support you and surround you with goodness. Ask them for help to be able to bring you back up out of this situation that you are in. And every day I just climbed, I just made another step and I just put things into action. And now to be honest, 6 months it took me to come out of this spiral, this situation I was in, to then have that confidence and that courage and that continuation to continue. So I share this with you because it is an opportunity to now look at having that courage and that action, because now that was in 2015. Through that, I've learned resilience. I now move through challenges quicker, faster. I might now make a decision that's in front of me within a minute, within an hour, within 24 hours. I can make powerful decisions, and I can also make powerful decisions of yes or no. And I think and I believe that the powerful no is as important and more important than a powerful yes. Because it's when you say a powerful no, you're saying no to what you don't want and yes and welcoming in more of what you do want. And for me, it is around establishing financial security and investments, as Pauline is talking into, it providing a lifestyle for myself and my family, being able to be around my children during the early school years, building a team of talented individuals from around the world that I work with in my team, connecting with amazing women leaders that are here in Women Thrive, that are here within our clients. And now in this year, I have the opportunity to work with clients who I help them achieve, 30K hidden revenue in their sponsorships when they're hosting an event. I help them achieve sellout events, to sell out their VIP tickets, which are 4 figures, and sell them out within the first month of the event launch. Now, that to an event host, to a business leader, you can imagine what it would feel like to you when you sell, when you bring in finances before the event launch and now in that event month. And now I have the ability, because of 2015, when I said, no, I am not going to let this path define me. I am going to learn. I'm going to ask for help. I am good enough. I am going to continue. And I'm going to continue to review and tweak and implement. Now I get the opportunity to work with female leaders and help them be on the stage, and knowing and giving them the peace of mind in the production, because they can then confidently speak from stage. They don't have to worry about anything around them because our team is helping them. We're helping them with every part of the detail to help them bring their event to life, and so that they can then concentrate on the transformation that they are providing to their attendees. Today, I get to work with women leaders who have such a powerful and inspiring heart. They are experts in what they do. They help their clients achieve something in what they are brilliant at helping them to achieve. We help them amplify their message and ultimately live their lifestyle that they desire, and also have a lasting impact. Now, talking about impact, I am so pleased because my own personal impact is coming into fruition. And it's not only around myself and my family and my clients and how we live, it's also around the impact and the greater. And so within 1 month from now, there will be 103 school children in a small village in Sri Lanka that are now going to have their school books, their pencils, their pens, some of them uniforms, because their families may not be able to afford this piece of clothing. And so I am incredibly inspired because I can now see this come into fruition. And I believe that education is not power. Education becomes a choice. You can then have a choice of how we live our life, of how you work with your clients, of the way that you do live your life, in the way that you say yes, and the way that you say a powerful no. And I know that 103 school children are now going to be starting their school terms with the resources around them for them to be able to flourish. And this, to me, it honestly brings the tears to my eyes. So I'm going to be forever grateful for the time that I had in 2015, although it was damn hard at that period. It was because I dug deep. I built that resilience, and that I would just continue to drive and look at how I can continue to help. And what do I want to leave as the lasting legacy here in the world? Now, I know from here, from every level that we now step through, new level, new devil. And it's now just by having that courage and that action to continue to step through. It's by knowing that all these moments shape you, and they can help you to find what's working and what now you need to tweak. I needed to tweak at that time. I needed to learn. I needed to have better systems in place in my business. And so through that, I'm now being able to continue in our life, being with my family, with my child that loved being on the microphone, as you just saw before. I've learned to become besties with discomfort. because I know that through that discomfort, I'm now at my boundary. I'm now at the level that I need to now step through. And so I hope that this is now firing you up. It is energizing you and is able to give you focus. That no matter even when the wonderful things are happening in your life and your business, but also the times that could be challenging, that there's always going to be a lesson in that for you. And it's now just by digging deep and looking inside to see what do I need to learn in this period of time, and what do I really, really want. And so as I sit here now today in front of you with this incredible Women Thrive supportive community, I am now completely thankful for the 2015 situation that I was faced with the knowledge that even to become at the World's Hall of Fame base person, you need to have shot 3 out of 10 hits, plus Michael Jordan, that if he had stopped when he was at high school, we wouldn't know the Michael Jordan that we all know and love here today. So thank you. And thank you, Marie and Kay.
Oh, so inspiring. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing your story and what drove you to just keep choosing you. And there were some notes that I was taking of like those moments of going onto the grass and grounding yourself to like go within, to think about your purpose and your why. And I feel that many of us now are like really contemplating, well, why am I doing the work I'm doing? And what is that impact? And you mentioned this beautiful word, legacy, you know, choosing yourself, all the amazing women and people and the communities that you have now impacted is phenomenal. So what's the legacy that you want to leave behind for your beautiful children?
I want to leave behind that they are courageous and that they are kind, that they can achieve anything that they can in their life, that they can, you know, the world literally is their oyster, that they can do so much. They can travel, they can learn different cultures, like push themselves. I'm a traveler. I've been to over 50 countries across the world and lived abroad for over 13 years. And through all of these experiences, they've helped shape me, and I want to pass this on to my children so that they have the courage to really step into their purpose, into their passion, and to block out the noises from externally, and to really trust themselves. And also, I think, Marie, you know, being around supportive people, knowing who your tribe are, knowing who your community is, knowing who you can make a phone call to, knowing who is giving you advice because they want the best thing for you. And it's not around their limiting belief and their projection of that situation. So it's giving them the courage to always continuously push through. And, you know, life is going to be giving us challenges. I didn't foresee that situation in 2015, but obviously it was a situation that I needed to step through to teach me that I needed to have better systems in place. And so it's by not letting it define you and to shake you off the path that you're inspired. You know, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. If you can think it, you can act it. Yeah. And so that's what I really want to pass on to my children. And then the greater is to be kind, help others that may not have the resources available to you that you may have. And that's the piece of work that I'm so passionate around, education of children.
Oh, so powerful. And I really feel those values with you, you know, as an educator myself, and to be of service, because how beautifully privileged our lives are to go through all of these experiences and give back is on my heart too. So I love the work that you are doing, and thank you so much for your beautiful time and your wisdom and your mothering. My daughter came in before when I was, backstage, and it was like giving her a hug, and it was like the same thing, like, okay, now go back to daddy if you have questions. So, you know, the mums out there that are doing this work, we all know what that feels like, and you handle that beautifully. And, you know, having that compassion for self and knowing that these moments and the discomfort, I love that, befriending the discomfort, It's like, yeah, if we can do that with our kids coming in live with us and still breathe through it and keep going, life can chuck anything at us and we'll be okay. So thank you so much for your time, and so looking forward to hearing you speak more at the summit. Beautiful. Oh, and speaking of the summit, we have some amazing testimonials from past speakers that have been part of this epic movement. And I'm so excited now to be introducing Paige Friesen, a past speaker, to share her experiences from being a part of the Women Thrive Summit.
I am a subconscious health practitioner, as well as a professional writer and poet, and an empowered speaker. I help people process emotional patterns that are stuck and living in the subconscious mind, and help them upgrade them so that they can live a life of optimal wellness and sustainable freedom. So it's really my mission to help educate and also help others heal themselves in a sustainable way about the subconscious and all the parts of them that are holding them back from living their truth. I decided to apply for Women Thrive Summit. I was like so clear that this was something that I wanted. So I am so grateful that I found this process. Ramonda is incredible, and I love working with her. Her facilitation is really unique, and her presence, first and foremost, it's so inviting. The application itself was so thorough. Every question, every inquiry was very gentle, and it was very emotional as well. It was like a holistic lens, a holistic view of the person instead of just your credentials. I really appreciated that she offered openings for first-time speakers. The whole experience actually provided me a handful of clients, which I was not expecting. That's completely icing on the cake. This is not a process that occurs without fear and without growing edges. And so I say, bring it to the table, bring it in, because Ramonda is the right person to host and facilitate. This is a unique community in that there's never been more supportive women to hold you and witness you every step of the way. You have group accountability partners, you have one-on-one connections, you have so much network building as you go. You have Ramonda as your #1 personal cheerleader forever after this experience. And there's no expectation to show up without fear. Like, that's part of it. And to be able to be in a space that's safe enough to transmute that a little bit and actually use it effectively. And I think a lot of people come in hesitant because of their past experiences, speaking with other demographics or other environments that couldn't hold those emotional parts. They expect you to show up, deliver the goods, and not have any connection with the community that you might be presenting with, or any facilitation of how to actually do your craft. And so the honing, the nuance of this process is just invaluable. It's worth the price of admission and more. I would like to give the utmost kudos to the entire Women Thrive team. There's so much invaluable advice and guidance that you receive along the way. The mentorship is unmatched. And so this is not a relationship that ends when the summit ends. It is the gift that keeps on giving, is really all I can say. I have relationships forever now, both personal and professional. And I'm just so excited for what the future holds.
What an absolutely awesome testimonial from Paige there. And I completely agree. Kudos to the team, because the team behind the Women Thrive Summit are absolutely incredible. They are so supportive. And again, I would just like to mirror what Paige said, that Ramonda is an absolutely beautiful human being. The support in this community, I'm a first-time speaker, and the support that I have received so far in this community is absolutely off the scale. It's unbelievable. So yes, I completely agree with everything that Paige said there. So how excited are you guys? Let's see in the comments. Are you looking forward to seeing our next speaker who is waiting in the green room for us? Put something in the comments. Let us know what you're excited about today. Let's get these speakers fired up. And I would love to introduce you to our next speaker now, who is a beautiful soul. She is a ball of energy, And I would like to bring to the stage, we have Lauren Taylor. Now, Lauren is a dedicated wellness expert and the visionary behind Lauren Ray Wellness and Coaching. Her business was born from her desire to help individuals break free from feeling trapped, insecure, and lost in their lives. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, Kay.
Welcome.
Hello.
It's lovely to see you here.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for introducing me. It's going to be interesting. I love this topic, the power of women's voices. So looking forward to sharing with you. So as Kay just introduced me, I'm Lauren Taylor. I'm a wellness and confidence coach, and I'm the founder of Lauren Ray Wellness. And this conversation about the power of women's voices for me is something that is so deep in my heart, because it's something I've always struggled with, going right way back to my childhood. I can't remember a time where I felt comfortable sharing my voice, or comfortable being who I am. And as someone who didn't know how to use their voice then, it's something I love talking about now. And when I was younger, I was constantly reminded that I didn't speak up enough, that I wasn't using my voice. Every single school report I had said, Lauren needs to speak up. Everywhere I went, people told me to speak up. And eventually, I started to feel like something was wrong with me. And the more I was being reminded that I wasn't using my voice enough, that I wasn't talking up, that I wasn't just being who I was without overthinking, I felt like something was wrong. And the more I started to compare myself to other people, I would be wondering, why am I like this? This isn't fair. Why don't I get to be normal like everyone else? And I longed to be able to speak up. I longed to be able to raise my hand in class. I longed to be able to get involved in conversations and put myself out on stages and do all these incredible things. But it really turned into a dislike and a doubt of myself, and it really knocked my confidence. And as a result of that, I started to play everything very small. And that started when I was young, and that carried on into my adulthood. It held me back from making decisions that would have been life-changing decisions for me. It stopped me from taking opportunities. It stopped me from doing the things that I wanted to do because I was so afraid and so uncomfortable with being who I was. And as I moved into adulthood, I had incredible opportunities. I had performed my entire life, which is something I think people always find a little bit odd for someone who is so incredibly shy. But I was comfortable in that because whenever I was performing, I wasn't being me. Whenever I was performing, it was a character. Whenever I was performing, I was hiding in the chorus in the back of the stage somewhere, barely noticed. So despite not being comfortable with myself, I could go through those things. As I was figuring out what I wanted to do in my life, I had some amazing opportunities to become a dancer on incredible stages, and I passed them up because I didn't believe in myself anymore. I didn't know I could do it. I felt that I wasn't good enough anymore. I wasn't good enough for anything. And it wasn't the case, but I couldn't see that then. And so I sacrificed these opportunities, and I went through my life that way, just playing it safe and going through the motions. And by my mid-20s, I was in crisis. I was feeling really lost and confused about who I was, from years of hiding parts of myself, from years of putting on a facade, from years of coping mechanisms to deal with the anxieties and the fears that came with being so shy and insecure. And I didn't know where I was supposed to be going anymore. And I was starting to realize that this was a problem for me. It wasn't just being shy. I think, we talk about shyness as a personality trait, but it's a real thing, a painful thing that is impacting people's lives. And it impacted my life quite seriously. So I reached this point where I was thinking, I've missed out on these opportunities. And I was starting to think, I'm sure I could have done that. I'm sure I could have done it if I just tried, if I'd just pushed past that barrier and put myself forward. But I couldn't see a way out anymore. I felt like it was too late, or I was too old, or it was too difficult at this point to move forward. And I don't think that's something that people in my situation just feel. I think, it's such a common feeling to come up against in your mid-20s as you're trying to figure out who you are, or still figuring it out. And I think for me, I started to get this niggling feeling that there was more for me, but I just couldn't see how I could make it possible. And eventually, we came into a global pandemic. And to begin with, I was scared like everyone else. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was worried about my health. I was worried about if I would survive it. I was worried about being away from my friends and family. But everything that I'd been scared of turned out to be my biggest blessing. It turned out that I was finally given some space to reflect on who I was. I was removed from the pressures of my life, the pressures of trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, trying to be perfect, trying to be everything that I wasn't just so I could get by in life. And as I reflected, I realized I hadn't been taking care of myself. My health was really bad. I'd had some coping mechanisms that had really damaged my health. And I was worried that this illness was going to get me and I didn't know what it was going to do. And that gave me a wake-up call to do something about it. So from that point, it started with one simple step, a decision. It started with a decision to change something. And with that decision, I started working on my health. I started looking at my diet. I started figuring out how to take care of my body, not just in terms of diet or exercise, but spiritually and emotionally as well. And I started meditating and breathing and making time for me. And, that comes with setting boundaries as well. And once I put those foundations in place, I realized that my confidence started to grow. And with that confidence that was growing, I started to be able to push my comfort zone a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I was so amazed by what had happened. I never expected that to happen. And I really discovered the power of self-care, of taking care of yourself, and how that can lead to full acceptance of yourself, and not just acceptance, but real love of yourself. I was someone who would look at myself and I hated being who I was. Now I look in the mirror and I'm so grateful to be who I am. And I realized that so many people were stuck where I was, and no one should be. Everyone should be able to be glad to be who they are. Everyone should be able to recognize their strengths. Everyone should be able to see the possibilities that are out there for them. And it became a real mission for me to be able to show people that. And that's why I am so grateful to be here on the showcase today and speaking at the summit in March 2024, because I want to be able to show people what they can be capable of, something that seems like it is the absolute last thing that could happen for you, could be possible and is possible.
Wow, Lauren, that is so powerful. And I resonated with so many points that you just shared with your story. You know, earlier on it's evening here in Australia for me, I spoke about being the shy girl as we were talking about the power of unleashing our voice and expression, and how dance was my outlet to express. So whether it is just taking that leap of faith and deciding to put yourself out there, whatever it is that lights you up is so powerful. And I loved that these pieces of self-care came through. And you mentioned meditating, breathing, and setting boundaries. I'd love for you to just share like why those three things were really powerful for you as tools to help shift you back into self-care and self-love.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because for me, it was something that I would never have even imagined or seen myself doing, meditating or breath work. And actually, it took me a long time to come round to. I was reading lots about it and people were talking about it. And I was like, I just don't really get it. I can't just sit there and, you know, all the things people say. I can't switch my brain off, and I had all the excuses. And eventually I just tried it. I thought, you know what, like, why not? Let's just do it for a couple of weeks. I'm sure I'll get over it by then. And it's, I don't know, 3-4 years later, something like that. And it's an absolute non-negotiable for me. Meditation and breath work are two of the things that I just cannot go a day without. And I think for me, it's just about allowing myself that space to just be with myself and being able to, I guess not to judge myself, just to be in the moment. And it allows that time for processing. And the boundaries, I think, you know, that's a whole other thing for me, because I think I was so desperate to be liked and accepted, and I was so unhappy with who I was. I would change myself a lot, and I would adapt to other people's needs a lot so that I could feel that I was accepted. So understanding that perhaps I wasn't putting the boundaries up that needed to be there was quite an eye-opener for me. And I think, you know, it's something I see a lot. I see it a lot with the people that I work with. We don't actually have this awareness of what our boundaries are, and we think we have them sometimes, but then they're not actually there as much as we think we are. So for me, that was a really important step in being able to allow myself to be me, and, you know, saying, actually, that doesn't work for me. I need to do it this way.
Yeah, so powerful. And that awareness piece of knowing those people-pleasing traits that can come up for many of us. Like, I know that I was one of those people too. So I loved all of those beautiful insights and points that you shared. And I know the amazing audience have also shared that they've really valued those pieces. So thank you so much for your time and your insights. And I'm so looking forward to hearing more from you in the upcoming summit. And I know we've been chatting as well, because these alignments and these stories that resonate have really connected with me as well. So looking forward to having you on the summit, like the many other amazing speakers that have been on these showcases. So if you're listening in, you know, give us some love hearts. And, you know, I can see beautiful comments from the listeners that they're enjoying these powerful points. So would love for you to share what's been landing with you so far. And while you're doing that, I'm really excited to be introducing our next speaker for today, and the gorgeous Christiana Ghini. She's all the way from Cyprus, which is very, very exciting. And she empowers corporate women to claim their power, set boundaries, and create space for pleasure and success without guilt or overthinking. She specializes in supporting women to understand their automatic behaviors and shift their mindset in a way that they become unstoppable. Oh my gosh, what a powerhouse.
Yes.
Anna.
Mari, thank you so much for the introduction. And I have to say that I enjoyed so much. You're wonderfully hosting 𝐸𝐸 this showcase. And I enjoy watching all these women that are so empowered and ready to support other women. You know, it's like living the absolute dream of women supporting women. The truth is, I have a great passion in supporting women to realize, first of all, their inner power and their right to claim things. I see it every day after day, women thinking that they have to adjust all the time, adjusting to their spouses at work, their kids, and every day I feel this stronger in my heart, you know, to just let them know that it's not like that. You know, you can claim anything in this life, and you have the right to do so. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about my main core value. That's freedom. I have to say that until my 20s, early 30s, I believed that I was so, let's say, free, and I would do anything I wanted, and I wouldn't care of what anybody was saying. Well, actually, that's what I was doing. But then I realized that I was actually rebellious, and I was actually reacting to many things. So I started questioning what freedom really is. So I got to the point where I was in my second wedding that I was very miserable, even though I had everything. I had the big house, the cars. My husband was a great guy. I mean, he's my ex-husband now. We had the dog, then we had our amazing 2 children, and I was suffocating. And I was not feeling free at all. So like my main value of being free to be as I am, free to act as I want and feel enough, was not covered at all and was not nourished at all. So I got to a point where I pushed myself so much to stay there and, you know, serve this, let's say, dream, and serve the dream of having a family and, you know, being this perfect woman of having everything. But I had to come in terms with this. I pushed myself so much to stay there that my body collapsed. So I had severe headaches and dizziness, like labyrinthitis. I couldn't stand up. I was lying in my bed for about 1 week. So my mom had to take the kids away to take care of them because I couldn't stand up. So after that, I started realizing that, you know, I'm not really looking within. I'm not really asking of what I want in this life. I'm just going on autopilot, you know, to create everything that I was told that I should have done. So I started talking with coaches and psychologists and psychiatrists and psychoanalysts and whatever existed, you know. I was trying to just find the real me. What did I want? So I decided to get that divorce. It was very hard for me because having to support my freedom meant that I would create some pain or a lot of pain to many people. And that was very hard for me to support my freedom, but also in the same time hurt other people to do it. So that was the hardest thing for me to do. And I realized, as Lauren said, that I had to set some boundaries in order to protect me, in order to recreate me. So I stepped up and I said, you know what? This is what I've decided. I announced my parents and my husband at the time, this is what I'm doing. I'm just gonna take the kids, who, by the way, were 7 months old and 2 years old. They were really, really small. So I announced it, and of course I had reactions, and of course I had a lot of difficult feelings, guilt, and I was questioning if that was the right thing to do. But then again, I had to support my freedom. I had to give myself the chance at the age of 38 to just be as I wanted to be at last in this life, without reacting, without following what I had to do. And I started seeing that everybody was accepting in the end. And that was what was amazing, that it was all about me giving me the freedom. It was all about me creating the space to exist like I wanted to. And then everybody just accepted. Even if they had difficulty to, at the end they all accepted. And I'm here now today, 6 years after, almost 7, and I live my life the way that I want to live it. I'm not in the stereotypes. I don't have the spouse now. I have my girls though. I have my business. And I'm full. I'm fuller than I ever had been in my life before, because I'm actually following what my heart desires and my soul desires. So this is the reason I'm so passionate about helping other women create that space through setting boundaries, through understanding their automatic behaviors. Also, to drop the stereotypes. We have a lot of stereotypes for our body, to the way that we have to be in our workplace, with our kids as mothers. I want women to just shed everything, just everything. You don't need to be anything specific. You just have to be what you want to be. And that's the beauty of life. To be free, to accept your flaws, your perfections, just as they are. And it's enough. So I'm going to be, it's not even fighting. I don't even feel that I'm fighting. I'm going to be promoting this and working towards the freedom of as many women choose to see and seek their freedom. Okay.
Hey, Christiana, thank you so much for sharing that. You are amazing. I've got to know you quite well throughout this summit, and I know that your mission, your passion, it's all about being in your heart and being connected to who you are. And I absolutely love the word freedom, because freedom can mean so many different things to so many people. And what might be freedom at one part of your life can then just change as you grow with life. And that's what I've found, is that, in my early days, I was quite rebellious like you, and freedom then meant something completely different to what freedom is now. And as I say, I think I love the fact that you talk about connecting with yourself and connecting about what feels good to you, because quite often we live in our head and we're always thinking. But when we actually tune in and connect with our body and think about how we want to feel, because that's what's important, not what we want to think, it's how we want to feel. So if you, were talking to somebody who didn't know how to feel, who were living in the head, what would you say to them? What would be your top tip to help them to start to connect with who they are, rather than what they think they should be or what society thinks they should be?
I love the question. So Pauline mentioned the same question at the beginning. And also, both Lauren talked about boundaries and the imposter syndrome, about not believing in if what you want is the right thing. So I'm coming back to that question. It's one main question, and that is, what do I really want in this moment? Because the to-dos and the musts are always there, and they will be bugging our head, you know. But if you close your eyes and you say, is this what I really want to do? What do I really want to do in this moment for that subject? Your heart will always tell you what the solution is. The problem most of the times is that you find difficulty in supporting it. And that's where sometimes you need to get help. It helped me a lot to listen. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to go about it. That's why I became that person, because it's very important to ask for help. When you hear what you want and you don't know how to get it, you ask for help until you get it, because it's only then that you will experience the openness and the fullness of life. So it's
Yeah.
what do you want? What do I want? What do I really want? What I'm saying yes to in this moment.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really important question, because quite often we have no idea what we want. We say we want a good job, a holiday, all of these things. But actually, when you start to break that down and start to get clarity on what that really looks like, quite often it's a really difficult question to answer. What is it specifically that you want? People say they want to be happy, but what does happy actually look like? What does it, not only what does it look like, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be happy?
Yeah,
You know,
but
so
you know, sometimes that question also gives you what you don't want. And that's also very important. Like, for example, I had this group that I was running that at some point I felt very disconnected. And I felt that it was not giving me, because for me it's important to feel as well in what I'm doing. It's not just job. So I came to the point and I didn't feel good in it. I didn't feel good in running it. So I just sat there and I said, do you really want to be doing this? And the answer straight away was no. So I had to work around completing it and finalizing this part of my life and this process in order to then make space to see what I want. So sometimes it's about learning what you don't want. It's very important as well, so you can make space for what do you want.
yeah, thank you so much, Christiana. Thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you so much for being with us. And how can people connect with you, Christiana? If you love what Christiana said, please, please, please feel free to connect with her. You can follow her on social media. I'm sure she's probably on all of the platforms. Is that right, Christiana?
Everywhere. Yes, I'm everywhere.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing your talk on the summit. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. So please let us know, guys, in the chat, how are you feeling? Aren't these women just absolutely incredible? I bet you absolutely love their stories, the same as I do, all of the golden nuggets that we're finding here today from these amazing women. So are you all ready for our next speaker? Because I know that we have got Megan Gibson waiting in the green room for us. So I'm going to bring Megan onto the stage. So Megan Gibson is an identity alignment coach, a podcaster and author, an expert in the transformative journey of deep self-discovery. Megan's specially formulated one-to-one process guides individuals to uncover deeply held intrinsic values and unique gifts that lie within. Welcome to the stage, Megan. It's lovely to have you here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. And wow, what a amazing group of women to have to follow on from. And interestingly enough, the theme tonight is going to continue with my story. Because as Kay just said, I am an identity and alignment coach, and I will go into what I mean a little bit by that, or you'll hear it in my story why I'm doing that work. And I think what I really want to start with is just to, and you would have heard this with almost everybody tonight, is that when we get to, so many women, we get to our 40s, we get to a stage in our life where we've just looked after everybody else in our life for so long that we just have no idea who we are and what we want anymore. So a little bit of a broken record with this topic tonight, but basically what I do is I help them figure out what that is and go after it. And I do that because I was once that woman. I went from feeling like an imposter in my own life to really knowing myself for the first time ever and confidently choosing me without the guilt, the shame, and the uncertainty. And I still remember the exact moment that I realized this. So I was running on the beach, and I hate running. I absolutely hate to run. I only run if people are chasing me, which isn't often, thankfully. But I was listening to Pink's new album at the time, which was called Hurts to Be Human, and that is exactly how I felt. My lungs were burning because I was actually running and I was not fit. I had tears streaming down my face, and the sun was going down on the horizon. It was late in the afternoon. And I just realized how unhappy I was in every area of my life and not having a clue how to fix it. So feeling like an absolute failure at 40 when all I'd ever done was try to do everything right and try to be successful, and constantly competing with myself and who I thought I should be. And I just felt like I should be fitter and healthier and wealthier and all the things, right? And I just wanted to feel free to do what I wanted, but I just didn't even know what that was. I wanted to express myself freely like I am right now and escape those feelings of shame and failure and regret, and to be just accepted for me. And I'm sure that after listening to these ladies that there's lots of people who feel that way. In fact, I know there is, because they're the people that I work with. And so I chose me on that day. I chose me. I decided to take some space from the life that I'd created up until that point, the only relationship that I'd ever known. I met my ex-husband when I was 15 years old. I have a daughter that's 15 now. I didn't even know what life was about at that age and all the things that come along with it. So it's the only relationship that I'd ever known. And I decided to take some space from that and really figure out what I wanted. The interesting thing was that once I was on my own, the very first thing that I felt was relief. And we've talked about feelings. The ladies were talking about feelings before me, and feelings are very, very powerful. And that feeling of relief, I would never have thought that it would feel so freeing. I felt also, though, alongside that, completely exposed. So I mentioned before about feeling like the imposter in my own life. I had tried vehemently to cover up these feelings for so long that once they were exposed, or once I was, I'd owned this and I'd stepped out and people could see, I felt completely exposed, which is terrifying, or it was for me. And so I had to learn, like, who am I without this relationship? Who am I without this perfect persona that I'd held together for so long? I had tried so hard to make sure that from the outside, everything looked perfect. And most people thought that it was. So it was a big shock to some people. And so once I took that space, I was really able to kind of sit in it and do the work. And this is why so many of us don't know how to answer that question of what we want, because we don't really know who we are, because we've only ever been who we're being. And who I had been being was an absolute people pleaser, which was also mentioned tonight. I call myself a recovering people pleaser. I like to say that I've recovered from that, but I actually now see the value of pleasing others, and I am aware of why I do it. And why I do it now is because I want to and because it makes me feel good. But for a very long time, I did that because I didn't want anyone to see me for the anxiety-ridden little girl that I was being right up until that day. And so I had lived my life just feeling like this life was someone else's. Like I'd been designed for me, not me designing it for myself. And so when I got into to the coaching space, I found that like gave me, it opened my mind to the idea of, what are my unique values? What am I actually good at? What am I good at? I mean, I'm a mum of, I've got 3 of my own beautiful children, and I have the pleasure of now bringing up 4 others with my amazing new partner, which I can tell you a little bit about how this story ended. It has a happy ending, thankfully. But I'm a mother, and I'm an amazing mother, and I know that, and I actually always knew that. But that's all I ever saw myself as. And so it gave me the opportunity to see what else I was good at, and to see what values I have that are uniquely mine. And so what I think is, we look externally. We just naturally go to look externally for what those things are. We look to what other people tell us we're good at, or we look to the things that look good, or this person's life looks good. I must, I want to have those things. We don't actually go within. And so what I really help people do is go within, because everything we need, all the wisdom, all the amazingness about us, our unique perspective that we are uniquely placed to share with the world to help the people that need to hear it. That is unique to us, and it's all in there. We just need to be in a position where we can crack that open, or we can uncover that. And so that is why I do the work that I do, because I have been there. I have lived this life that was me trying to be everything that I could. I was being all the things that I thought I needed to be so that people would like me. And someone earlier said I could feel good enough. I have lived inside that story for so long that I just believed that I had to keep proving it to myself and the world. And it wasn't until I really did this deep work where I uncovered like my deep core values that are unique to me because of the things that I have been through and because of the way that I view the world. No one else has my lens, has had my unique set of circumstances. And that's amazing in itself. We can have the opportunity to actually sit with that and unpack that. And now that I've done that and I know those things, I could tell you my top 10 values off the top of my head. I have a purpose statement or an affirmation statement that sums up how I show up in the world, not even having to try. It just is who I am. And I get to be that now freely. And so I am extremely passionate about helping other women to unpack that themselves, unpack their experiences, and figure out who they are. And I believe, Marie, hello again, I believe that the only way we can actually figure out what we want is if we first answer the question, who am I? Who am I really? And then we can start aligning our choices with that and choose the things that align with that. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, amazing. What a beautiful share and story. And every time I hear you speak, because I think this is the third time now that I've had the privilege of hearing you share your insights, there's always something new that I'm gaining from this, like with all of the amazing speakers that bless this stage and this platform. So you spoke about a number of different things about competing with yourself. And I know that's been a big piece to the themes that all the ladies have spoken into. And I know that I too felt that as I was growing up, and not only with self, but with other friends, other women in my lives, girlfriends. And it was this piece within me that I had to go within to notice, be aware, and work through in order to kind of heal that for myself and shift it from that into celebrating myself, celebrating others. So I really loved that. And yeah, Kay, what has landed for you with Meg's?
Thank you so much, Megs. Honestly, it was amazing to hear you talk, and so many things resonated there. How many women are actually out there pretending that they have it all together? I was one of them. I know so many women who were just pretending on that surface level that everything is absolutely fine. Our businesses are running fine. Our relationships are running fine. Our life's amazing. Where actually we might be struggling, you know, and it's really difficult for women, especially sometimes, to reach out to other people and ask for help, because we have this image to portray that we have everything together. And I think it's really important to start being real. And like you said, you know, we don't know what we want because we don't know who we are. And that's because we're conditioned so much by society. And this is the time to start changing that. This is the power of women's voices, to be able to own that and to be able to speak up and to say, hey, things aren't all that perfect. This is who I am. This is what I want. Maybe I need help, but it's okay to ask for that help and get the people around you to support you. Because when you have the right people around you, as we all know on this Thrive platform, we have some amazing people around us. We have some amazing people to support us. And we're able to reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling. And there's so much power in that. So thank you so much, Megan. I love that. It was really good. Thank you.
So Meg, we'll get Meg back on, because I would love to ask her a question, because we were just celebrating her awesome story. So as Meg jumps back on, we were just talking about support, and throughout your journey, who were some of your key support people in your life that you were just like, these are my people, this is who I'm going to? Because Kay was talking about asking for help. Who was it that you turned to that helped you through these transitions of your identity shifts?
That's such a great question. And I think I'm going to answer it in two ways. First of all, I had a lot of amazing people around me within the space that I was working who had done the work already. And the second part is that because I am somebody who eats my own cooking, as I like to say, I am somebody who is, if I am going to be facilitating a space where somebody is doing this work, which I was, I'm sure going to be doing it myself. And I know that the momentum that I have had, because that was only 5 years ago, but I've been amazing in an amazing space for well over a year. So it's a relatively short space of time to totally do a 180 on my life. And I know the only reason for that is because I was in a space where I was with people who were being that for me, but I was also being that for somebody else, or other people, many other people. And so that meant I had to do the work, because who am I to be, you know, telling or sharing these things with people and bringing these things out of people without actually doing the work myself. So I'm very, very blessed to not be in the dark. I was already in the light.
Oh, so powerful. And even when we're in these shades of light and dark, asking for help, no matter where you are, is such a key step of courage to know who your network is, to know, that you can go to family or friends or even a hotline or something to allow yourself to just share what you're going through, to just take the load off. And I think that's really powerful. Thank you so much.
Again, that comes back to understanding what we want and what we want to achieve. Because as an example, this here today for us, Marie, we've hosted this event today. We've never done that before. We had to reach out to people to ask, how do we do that? And we reached out to Raimonda because she's amazing. She does this, so when you're surrounded with people who are doing what you want to do, don't see them as competition. See them as somebody to inspire you, to inspire you to do what you want to do and get in that circle of people and share that energy with people and give support and get support from those people. And this is what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thank you so much, Meg, for your time and sharing these beautiful insights. I know Kay and I are really excited to introduce our final testimonial for our show today. And I'm just so amazed at the amazing powerhouse women we've had already today speaking live, and also the gifts of past presenters and speakers who have shared their insights. So I'm really excited to introduce the next speaker testimonial from Tanya Newbold. Looking forward to hearing her story. Maybe it's coming up shortly. Our beautiful tech person has been working with us.
I'm Tanya Newbold. I am a life transformation strategist. I support people to grow and see their true magnificence so that they will transform their world and the world around them.
Oh, amazing.
I'm Tanya Newbold. I am a life transformation strategist. I support people to grow and see their true magnificence so that they will transform their world and the world around them. And when Raimonda and I met, I was so impressed by her presence of who she is internally and her spiritual presence, her aura, everything about her. And I shared with her my story with perinatal mood disorders. And it is because I suffered severely when I had my beautiful daughter, but yet it was part of God's plan because I was meant to do something about it. Raimonda saw that in me, and we just immediately connected, and she very shortly after invited me to be a part of Women Thrive Summit, which was such a fantastic experience. So my standout moment may not be what you would expect to hear. With the Women Thrive Summit, there's this fantastic portal, very well organized, and they utilize all the information to consistently promote you across many different platforms. Well, I am not as strong at that as I would like to be. And it got to a point where things were needed, I was behind, and Raimonda left me the most beautiful voice memo with so much love and kindness about how it was breaking her heart that I was not utilizing and taking advantage of the opportunities. She was very straightforward in such a loving manner. It was one of those moments that made me realize, pay attention to the opportunities, to the details, get the support where you need it so you can shine with what you're supposed to do. And the way she handled that with me was a complete game changer in my business and in my life. What I love so much about being a part of the Women Thrive Summit was the opportunity to see so many powerful women supporting each other, because there's room for all of us. It starts with Raimonda, her team, and then all of the people involved. She sees the vision of how she wants it to go, which allows each of us to then step into that vision with her. And I absolutely love the journey. It's a beautiful opportunity. You will learn and grow. You will have the opportunity to share your story and touch many different lives It will indeed change your life. So if you're thinking about doing it, do it. The gift that you have been given to give to others needs to be in the light. This is an opportunity for you to put your gift into the light. Do not be afraid of that.
Wow, that was powerful. And I really loved Tanya's celebration of the team involved. You know, Kay and I have enjoyed being a part of the team and this opportunity for us to co-host and share the insights of the speakers, and our beautiful tech team as well, going with the flow and, you know, shifting as we were shifting and supporting us through that. So just honoring the tech team and beautiful Joel as well for all of his work. What did you enjoy from that, Kay?
Yeah, for me, it's just about, you know, the vulnerability, the courage, the strength from all of these women to actually show up today, to show up and become vulnerable, share their stories, and all for the mission to empower women, to, you know, guide women to believe that they can be anything, they can do anything that they want, you know, regardless of their conditions that are put on them. If they look within, they get to see who they really are, and they can be and do anything in the whole world. So I personally want to thank each and every one of our speakers today for showing up, for taking the time for the mission, for women's voices, to actually be here today and support Women Thrive. So yeah, what about yourself, Maria?
I have loved having the extended time. So like you, honoring Pauline, Lauren Penny, Lauren Taylor, Christiana, and Meg as well for jumping on today. And it's been really beautiful to hear them for that a little bit longer and really tap into their essence and their story and their mission that they are living, and their purpose that they're just shining so brightly as they speak. And I really enjoy just having that time to sit, because it doesn't feel like that time. I feel like I'm so absorbed with the speakers and their story, and I want to hear more. And, you know, even when I hear you speak, Kay, as well, I'm like, give me more. And how our audience has also been engaging has been really beautiful to see as well. So really honoring and celebrating the beautiful listeners now and also on the replay, because you get to hear more. There's another speaker showcase coming up, and obviously our summit too. So Kay, are there some more beautiful points that you'd like to share about what's coming up?
Well, we also forgot about the Women Thrive magazine, didn't we? So I actually have here with me my own personal copy of the Women Thrive magazine. So if anybody would actually love to get a magazine to hold, because quite often we don't get them now, everything's online, but to physically get a magazine, and I love to sit there in my favorite coffee shop with my magazine and read even more stories of incredible women sharing the golden nugget, sharing their tips, sharing so many different things in there. And that's available to anybody. You can actually get a copy like I do every month. If you want to do that, please just sign up on the Women's Thrive platform, and you will be able to do that. Also, there's loads of podcasts on there. There are so many things. There's the new book, which I've actually got as well here, the Women Thrive book. So, but I actually bought two, because I got the first one, the first chapter, by mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. I was meant to read it. Because again, so many beautiful stories in there. So if you haven't had access to any of those, please, please, please go and buy them, sign up to the magazine, because you will continue to be inspired by incredible women across the world.
Oh, so beautiful. And all of that information you can check out on the website. Please visit www.womenthrivesummit.com, and you'll find in that space where you can register for the summit as well. We'd love to see as many of you there supporting these beautiful women, their voices, unleashing their power to inspire and change the world. And when we do that together, the ripple effect is just so powerful, not only within ourselves, but in our families and our communities. And isn't that what this whole point is about, for us to just share the love, share the power, because this is how we grow together. So I'm so excited to be a part of this and see us all thrive together.
Yeah. So again, if anybody wants to watch tonight, there are another 12 speakers on tonight. So please tune in, and you can share and encourage those ladies there as well. So thank you, everybody who showed up today. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you for everyone who's turned up on this platform and made comments and helped us on this journey today. Thank you so much. Until next time, we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.